Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Kade Reticker, Khushi Krishna, Nikoloz Machaidze, Julia Agostino, Sanjana Thesayi, and Michael Mirkin, all of whom are associated with the Turing Alliance, a student-led club at Lexington High School dedicated to supporting and celebrating neurodiversity. The concept that neurological differences like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia are natural variations of the human brain. Kade is a speech language pathologist and serves as the club's advisor. And Khushi, Nicholas, uh, Sanjana, Julia, and Michael are all students and members of the Turing Alliance. During the program, we'll find out why and how the club came about and how it's grown, developed, and operates today. In the process, we'll come to better understand and appreciate the unique strengths and perspectives of neurodivergent individuals and how the Turing Alliance provides a community of neurodivergent students, a place to discuss the unique challenges they face, as well as to initiate advocacy and awareness projects. Let's start by meeting our guest. Welcome. So delighted you're all able to be here.
Thank you.
Eager to find out much more about the Turing Alliance and have you inform viewers. To that end, Kade, would you please start by sharing why and how the club came about, the inspiration, motivation, who was involved?
Sure, yes. So the club started in fall of 2023 and was started by two students who have graduated, Cecilia Riordan Borges and Sophie Shin. And they felt that there was a need at the school to have a place where neurodivergent students could unmask and be themselves, talk about the challenges that they might face, and also educate other staff, peers, and community members about neurodivergence and their life experiences.
And what inspired you to support and supervise the club?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I stumbled upon this club. There was a list of clubs that needed an advisor, and I originally seeing Turing pass by it thinking it was a math club because we're named after Alan Turing, who is a famous mathematician and cryptographer. And then I had a colleague who said, "Oh, you really want to help neurodivergent students? Have you seen this club?" So then I checked it out and I was able to connect with Sophie and Cecilia. And I'm neurodivergent myself and work with neurodivergent students. So it felt really meaningful that students wanted to create something like this. So from there, they started the club, and at first it was just kind of a hangout space. And over the course of the year, last year, it really expanded into this force because these students have educated and done presentations for so many community members, staff, and other students.
No, I know the club had attracted me. You've accomplished so much in such a short time. Kate, how does the club fit into the school's overall approach to diversity and inclusion?
Sure, I think the school has been really open to hearing the students' perspectives, and I think they really are focused on when we look at our diversity and inclusion efforts, having student voice. So I think that was a huge draw for this. And I think this has been the first time that we've had neurodivergent students or students with disabilities talk about their experiences and what could be improved. So again, I think what's been really amazing and what's made this club so powerful is the student voice.
What would you say biggest challenge in establishing the club?
Um, at first, I think we were trying to get members, and that was difficult to get the word out. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the year last year, we had to change rooms because we had so many students that we didn't have enough room in the classroom that we were meeting. So at
Hmm.
first, it was hard to get other students, and then the word got out through the students, whether they were bringing in friends or the students also presented or made a video about neurodivergence that was shown to all of our freshman health classes and all of our junior health classes. So they've reached over 1,000 students, and word got out, and we had a lot more members. So I would say that at first it was hard to get people, and then we had a lot. So it's a good problem to have.
That's for sure, for sure. Well, thank you for that overview and introduction. And now we're going to segue to hear from the students who are going to come up one at a time. Khushi, would you please come up first? Nice to meet you here. The question curious to ask you is what motivated you to join the Turing Alliance, and how has it changed your perspective on neurodivergence?
What motivated me to join the Turing Alliance is my need for a community who would treat me like I don't just exist, but like I'm an important part of their community. In middle school, I've experienced some people who would mistake my autism as being really dumb or really weird or like being too picky about certain things. Other neurotypical people would not care about. And this community is one that understands that sometimes I have weaknesses which I can't get rid of, which is Turing Alliance. And it also has allowed me to express myself more freely in front of others, and I became more confident in who I am as a person.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. Thank you very much. Sanjana, would you come up, please?
Hi.
Hey, welcome. Building on what Khushi just said, how does the club help you feel more confident and comfortable in your identity?
So before I came to Turing Alliance, I kind of didn't know anything about neurodivergence. I didn't even know what the word was. And to be honest, when I came, so I think counselor or teacher, I don't remember who, suggested it to me. And I also thought it was a math club. So I showed up one day to the free block, iBlock. It's like where you can sign up for the clubs and whatnot. So I showed up one day and I saw the word neurodivergence on the board, and nobody was judgmental. They really let me ask as many questions as I needed, and they were really understanding of where I stood in all of this, that I wasn't really as educated about it as the other people. So that really helped me understand myself better in using terminology that I've never used before. And what was I gonna say? Just in general, I got my neurodivergence diagnoses when I was pretty young, so I never really had a lot of opportunity to talk about it and explore it, because it just was kind of a part of me since I was really little. I had a lot of early intervention and whatnot, so a lot of the time people don't really recognize that my neurodivergence when they look at me, because I've been able to kind of mask it and control it a lot over time. And while I'm appreciative of those skills that I've learned, it's kind of exhausting after a while. Turing Alliance has really helped me come out of my shell related to that in the meetings that I did attend, and it really helped me come to terms with that part of myself that I'd never really had a chance to before.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Thank you very much for sharing that. Going to move on. Julia, would you please come up?
Hello.
Hi, Julia. Welcome. What's been the most impactful experience you've had as a member of the Turing Alliance?
Honestly, the most impactful experience has been speaking in front of all of my teachers, the entire high school staff about neurodiversity, being able to educate them about things they didn't previously know. I've spoken at townwide events as a part of the Turing Alliance, teaching residents about neurodiversity. The Globe reached out to us to do an article, and I have also spoken to all the fifth graders in Lexington about neurodiversity.
Wow, that's fantastic. What an impact you've had through the Alliance. Just fabulous.
Very cool.
And I'm sure you've had incredible reaction to your presentations.
Oh my God, nothing but praise. Yeah.
That's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Well, I know we're going to hear from you later, but want to continue with Michael now.
Hello.
Hey, Michael. Similar to Julie, what's been an impactful experience for you being a member of the Alliance?
I think that for me, a lot of it has been being able to, even just in our meetings as a club, to have like this space where a lot of people that I am friends with or that I became friends with through Turing Alliance, just to have this community space, I think has been absolutely wonderful. I think it's especially for our freshmen at LHS has helped like bring them into the community a bit more. And I think that that's definitely been a really big impact that I care about.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, and we'll hear from you a little later.
Mhm.
Sanjana, would you come back, please? Have another question?
I'm back.
What message do you hope to convey to educators and your peers through your presentations?
So typically in the presentations, we try to strive for like a message of that there's nothing that you can change about neurodiversity, and that's not really a bad thing. It's more like there's a way to make people feel more welcome, and that can be not only beneficial for them but also beneficial for you. And so a lot of that message is just trying to make the knowledge of neurodiversity more widespread so that maybe there are like more people like me who go in not knowing a lot and then come out feeling enlightened.
What's been the response from either students or other educators after your presentations?
Completely positive. So for the freshman and junior health presentations, we had a question at the bottom of the survey. So they were supposed to like basically quiz themselves on it after. And then at the bottom, there was a feedback area. And all the feedback that we got was good job, like I learned so much, stuff like that. And then we've honestly just gotten so many people who are like completely positive. And then same with staff and educators, like everyone's been really committed to like helping students feel more safe and respected in classrooms.
That's fabulous, fabulous. Thank you very much. Michael, would you please join us again? How would you explain neurodivergence to somebody who isn't as familiar with it or totally unfamiliar with it?
Yeah, I'd say it really varies a lot depending on the type of neurodivergence, but I'd say a lot of it can kind of be modeled when I know there are plenty of people, both adults and like other students, that like I'll hear that like I'm not a math person, for example, or that like they're not a science person. Maybe they're more interested in English or history, right? Things like that. And that's not any form of like choice. That's just how they've ended up developing, right? In the same way, like for a lot of neurodivergence, it's just sort of the way in which the brain works. Some people end up being better at math, some people end up being better at English, right? In the same way, with neurodivergence, you can have like some of these differences where maybe we might be better at like some neurodivergent people might be better at multitasking, but they might be worse at being in like loud environments, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think a really big thing because it's very case by case, but I think one of the easiest things that like there's nothing in neurodivergence that doesn't also just exist in everybody else's life, right? In the same way that, like for example, looking at my parents, like I know that my mom, she really doesn't like going to like loud concerts, right? That's something that is true for her. For myself, I have certain issues with auditory processing, but at the end of the day, that's all the same parts of the brain that are processing, right? Some neurodivergent people might have more difficulty with like hand-eye coordination, but there's also, my dad's just been fairly clumsy his whole life, right? There's always, all neurodivergence isn't anything that's particularly strange or weird. It's just parts of like our lives that are maybe a bit more like noticeable than for other people.
Oh, so well said and so informative. Thank you very much, Michael. Nikoloz, what's one myth about neurodivergence you wish more people understood?
It's never been said. Thank you. It's never been said straight to me, but some people think that autism has a look, but it's entirely a mental thing. Hence the term neuro. And also, autism is not contagious. I saw a Quora post one time saying, "I don't want my son to take that drug and start becoming autistic." I would love to break this to you. It's not going to happen. That's not possible. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Julia, would you join us again, please?
Hello.
Hey, how has being a part of the club influenced both your academic and possibly personal life?
I've been able to make more meaningful friendship connections, knowing that I don't have to mask and I'm able to be myself. I have more confidence speaking about my autism. I feel stronger to self-advocate and not feel bad about my specific accommodations and needs as an autistic individual. I overall being happier and knowing that we as a club are making a difference for the neurodivergent population. I love connecting my experiences since graduation with my other Turing members who are still in high school. I'm grateful that LHS allows me to come back as an alumni. And I feel a very strong connection to the Turing Alliance and want to grow this to every high school in Massachusetts and beyond.
Oh, well deserved for that. You're an incredible role model for it. So keep up your involvement for sure.
Thank you.
And going to move on. A question for Michael, please. Michael, what advice would you give to neurodivergent students who might be hesitant to embrace the differences or join a group like the Turing Alliance?
I'd say that this is something that I've also had some experience with, and at the end of the day, not accepting something about yourself or not acknowledging something is never going to make it go away. And that being able to acknowledge it and being able to be in spaces with other people will give you so many new tools that you might not even have known about to be able to improve your life, to get perspectives from people that might have gone through things similarly to yourself.
Wonderful. Just in closing with you right now, any events coming up that the club's going to be involved with?
Soon we are actually planning to do a presentation to a lot of the assistant teachers at Lexington High School this upcoming Friday, actually. So, yeah.
That's fabulous, the incredible impact the club has had. Thank you very much. Kade, would you come back, please?
Sure. Hi.
Kade, we heard about the presentations. How do you prepare students for large audiences such as faculty, staff, and as Julia said, the community?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, so much of the work is them. I think, the presentation we made last year, and we made lots of different versions based on different audiences. So we've talked about different perspectives. So, for instance, we had different examples when we've presented to parents versus when we've presented to educators. So talking about that perspective taking, but in all reality, they made the presentation. We go through every time, and they pick the slides that they're the most comfortable with. We tend to do Q&As after, and I always tell them, answer what you feel comfortable with, and if you don't, just give me a look and I'll come in. So we know that sometimes there might be questions that are unexpected, but they really take it in stride. And I've just been so proud of all of them, of how they've stepped up. And we've had freshmen join this year that have been thrown into presentations and done phenomenal jobs. So I've just been really proud of the work that they've done, and I don't think I can take much credit for it.
Well, we all know that for most people, just public speaking is very intimidating, no matter who you are. So yeah, kudos to everybody involved with the club to be able to do this so successfully. Kate, how do you help students navigate the potential resistance or misunderstanding from peers or maybe even educators?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a few pieces. I mean, there's sometimes even in the club itself, we'll talk about sensory accommodations or different sensory needs, and one person might be feeling really good by using a vocal stim that's pretty loud, and we might have another student that says, "Hey, whoa, I have sensory, needs that's too loud." So a lot of it is communication, and I'm a speech language pathologist, so maybe I put a little too much into the communication. That is my area, but excuse me, I think we talk a lot about communicating what's best for you in that moment, and then being able to negotiate and compromise to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. I mean, that's the biggest thing we want in club, is for kids to feel comfortable. And then a lot of the work is, with accommodations, helping students advocate to their teachers in a way that's respectful and that gets their needs met, is really important. And I think a lot of what I say to the students is, when you know better, you do better. And that's why the communication and education are so important. And I also, I can talk about this stuff until I'm red in the face, but the ones that really make the difference and get listened to, are the students. And I'm trying really hard to empower their voices, whether it's with their friends, family, teachers, just day-to-day life.
Wonderful. What's been some of the feedback you've received from educators and others after the club's presentations?
Sure. I mean, I've had so many educators who, again, who have been really, really positive, saying how well spoken and how much thought the students have put into their presentation. I've also had educators that have come up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, why was this club not a thing when I was a student? I would have done this as a student." We have a lot of neurodivergent educators who were really moved by the presentation as well. And we actually had a day last year where they got to come in and talk to the students about their lived experiences as well. So again, it's been really positive, and I think it's opened a lot of people's eyes into different experiences, because we have a huge school. We've got 2,500 kids, and there's a lot of diverse experiences. And I think this is an important one that we've been lucky enough to spread the message about.
Most definitely. What's your vision for the club and how do you see it evolving?
I mean, to second what Julia said, I think we'd love to hear if other schools were able to create their own clubs. We had a couple reach out to us after the Globe article to talk about making their own, which is awesome. We've also had students who have graduated who have moved on to similar clubs in college, which has been great. I think a lot of places are trying to make things more accessible and giving more voice to neurodivergent people and students, and that's been really hopeful. I think we also want to go help younger and younger students. Julia had the experience to talk to all the fifth graders, but otherwise, we'd really like to expand to middle school and maybe some more trainings for elementary. Just because I think there are a lot of students out there who feel different, and I think it's empowering to be able to find community. The younger, the better.
Most definitely, most definitely. What advice have you given or would you give other schools, or organizations looking to start similar initiatives?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's been successful for us is having that safe space where kids can really be themselves. And I think, the educating and doing the presentations is one thing, but we have a lot of fun. We get to, I think the kids really get to form these rich relationships and get to know each other in a place where it can feel easy to get lost into the crowd in a big school. So I think trying to create that safe space. So even just thinking of it from a sensory component, like, we're not going to use the big lights, or we have songs that they like to listen to, or things like that. I think just creating that safe space and then getting the word out. We also talk a lot about, I talk a lot about having ADHD and my own neurodivergence to make it okay. We also, during Neurodiversity Celebration Week, we put up posters around the school about different neurodivergent celebrities. So I think spreading the word that, you're not alone is the most important part.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank all of you so much for taking the time to be here, for informing us, educating us, and being such incredible role models for us. So continued success with the Turing Alliance and the upcoming rest of your education careers.
Thank you so much. It means a lot that we were able to talk to you, and we really appreciate it.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.